Hello students, so today we are going to learn the second chapter, that is plants, structure and function. Hopefully you have seen the previous two videos, that is of the first chapter, the living world, adaptation and classification, the two videos, one of adaptation in plants and second adaptation in animals. Now this again the video which I am making, which will help you to learn, understand and revise so that you will enjoy and learn the concept. Okay, now content: introduction, root, stem, leaf, flower and fruit. Now can see here the tree, the animation, the roots which take up the water, and through the stems, that is through the conducting tissue which you might have heard about, xylem and phloem, passes through the entire part of the plant. Even in the first animation slide you have seen how the plants, where the movement of water takes place, or it is the life for all the living organism, whether it is plant or animal. So presence of plants around us is very much important. That is, cutting down of trees, destroying the forest can cause a great harm to the nature, right? Okay, then here there is second animation, that is of photosynthesis. How the leaf, which has the chlorophyll content, helps in providing oxygen and sugar, that is glucose, with the help of carbon dioxide and water. So in simple ways, the photosynthesis is a process where carbon dioxide and water, which is the raw material, in presence of light and in chlorophyll, gives us oxygen along with glucose, that is sugar, right? Then here the third animation image, you can see the stem through the root. As water moves from the root to the stem, you can see the molecules of water, how it is moving in the upward direction. Closer look of the animation, which you can see in the first part of the animation. Okay, now the introduction part of the chapter, plant structure and function. Now here again you can see two animation. Okay, so first you can see the animation where seeds, when it is in soil, it grows as you water it in presence of the nutrients which it absorbs from the soil, and how it grows, the roots growing into the soil and the stem growing upwards towards the sunlight. And here you can see the second animation where the seed which grows into a stem, the formation of root which moves to the towards the ground, and the stem which forms the carrying the fruit and the flowers, right? So you can take the points one by one. The root, stem, leaves, flowers, fruits, etc. of different plants are different. What does that mean? If you have seen the plants around us, all the plants are different, right? Their leaf shape, they are different, the flower shape, colors are different, fruits, the shape are different, it may be small, big or huge, right? In case of watermelon, correct? So there are different shapes, even stem, the root, so all are of different shapes and sizes, right? So we can identify plants with the help of these different characteristics. The part that grows from inside the seed toward the soil is called radicle, which you can see over here slowly moving downward, and the part that grows above the soil is called the plumule. Now you will say we are learned about root and stem, right? Correct. So this radicle which forms the root and the plumule forms the stem part. Okay, so initially when the seed sprouts or germinates, we can see the part growing downwards the radicle and upwards the plumule. Okay, now moving further, I put two images to understand the different parts. So once you know the different parts of the plant, it will be easier to understand the entire chapter. So here, plant structure and function, you can see the labeled parts from the bottom, that is root cap, root tip, root hair. So in the root we have come across the roots very often, right? So but roots has got root hairs, root tip, and it is again protected by root cap, right? You might have heard cap which you put on your head, which protects from sunlight. So here the root cap protects the delicate root when it moves into the soil. Then there is lateral root, primary root. Further upwards, it is the shoot, that is the stem part, that is from plumule the formation of stem takes place. The ground tissue, that is inside the stem, as just mentioned, xylem and phloem content is present which carries the food and water. Vascular tissues, the component carrying food and water. Then you have got node, internode. Now what is this node and internode? Now if you have seen sugar cane, there is a thick and dark circle, that is node, and between two nodes is the internode. Lateral bud on the sides over here, epidermis, the shoot tip, that is the apical bud, flower, leaf, and the seeds which is present inside the fruit, right? Then here another image, again stating the simple labeling part, root, but along with the function also added over here, that is absorbs water and minerals. Stem supports the plant. Fruit protects the seeds. Leaf performs photosynthesis. Flower helps in reproduction. How? Because in the flower seeds are present. Seeds, when they fall or disperse, they give rise to new plant by germination. Right? So the upper part forms the shoot system and below the ground forms the root system. Okay. Now we take each part of the plant one by one, starting with the root, right? First point, root that forms from the radicle grows into the ground, as you see in the animation image. That's why the animation images helps you to understand much more clearly. The root is thick near the ground and gradually tapers to a pointed end. Now what does that mean? Middle part usually is thicker and the lower part is pointed, that tapers. This part of the plant growing below the soil for support is called root. So root helps in support as well as in absorbing the important minerals from the soil. The root of some plants produce secondary roots that grow obliquely and spread far and wide in the soil. Roots support the plant. This type of root is called as taproot. So what is taproot? The roots which goes deep into the soil. It has got primary root, secondary root and tertiary root. Means not just the main root but other than that primary, secondary and tertiary. Then root bears hair-like process near the root tips. These are root hairs. The root tip is delicate. This is the region of the growth of root. So root hairs are present as you have seen in the earlier image, and root tips are present which continuously grows deeper and deeper into the soil in search of water and nutrients. The tip of the root is covered by a cap-like structure called root cap. The root cap protects the root tip from injuries. As I mentioned, root tip is very delicate. So to protect them as they move deeper and deeper into the soil, as soil you know it is very rough, so this root cap protects them. Thread-like or fiber-like roots arising from the stem are called fibrous root. Now, other than the taproot, there are certain plants where there is root fiber like part which emerges from the root. So these are called as the fibrous roots. Thus there are two main types of roots, that is taproot and fibrous root. So dicotyledonous plants have got taproots while monocotyledonous plants have got fibrous roots. So as we saw the earlier images, it's mostly taproot where it goes deeper and deeper into the soil, has got primary, secondary and tertiary. But the second type of root is the fibrous roots, which is very clearly seen on the surface part and is not too deep into the soil, which you can see very clearly. right? And usually these fibrous roots are present in monocotyledonous plants, whereas the taproot system is found in the dicots. So further we can see more images related to fibrous and taproot as well as dicot and monocot. Plants like maize, sugarcane, sorghum have two types of roots. Some roots are underground, whereas some grow from the stem just above the soil. The latter are called adventitious roots. Now, just as I mentioned, fibrous root, they don't go deep into the soil. They are just on the surface and slightly below the surface. So their roots are slightly weaker. So in order to give more support, there is an additional type of root present, that is adventitious roots. Now, as I gave you example, all the fibrous roots are present in monocots. The monocots, best example being rice, wheat, jawar, bajra, maize, sugarcane. All these are monocots, or you can say the crop plant. For example, as I told, rice, wheat, we are more commonly consuming as the food, right? Then, besides the normal functions like absorption of water and minerals, anchoring and supporting the plant, root performs some other functions too. Now, just as I mentioned, what does root do? Root goes deep into the soil in search of water and minerals, so which helps them to grow. So other than water and minerals, it also helps them to anchor. What does that mean? Support. Now you are seen in your surrounding, there are huge trees. You may think how these huge trees are standing still, right? That is because of this roots, which is just as we had taproot system having primary, secondary, tertiary. So they go deep into the soil and they hold onto the soil, thereby anchoring them and supporting them as well. Okay, so what is the function of root? Absorption of water and minerals, anchoring and supporting. But other than this, there is some other functions too. What are these? We'll see further. Now, roots show some modification to perform these additional functions. Some example of such modified roots are aerial roots, stilt roots, runners, breathing roots, which are otherwise called as nematophores. Now, again in the next slide, I given all the images of these different types so that you will understand with the help of images, which is not given in the textbook. So, just helping you out with understanding all these things. So, other than absorbing water and minerals, other than supporting and anchoring, they got special functions like aerial roots. Now what is my aerial? You might have heard about aerial, means in the air, right? So we can say these remain in the air rooted. Why? For absorption of water, or from the atmosphere, the taking in of air or water. So every different types has got certain modification which helps the plant. Okay, stilt roots which again supports the plant. Runners. Now runners, if I give a very simple example or easier example, grass. You have seen grass. Now you imagine in a playground we play football and cricket, right? That time nothing is there, but once the rainy season comes, within few weeks time, you can see entire ground is covered with grass. Again the gardener, he keeps on cutting all the grasses or uprooting the grass, right? But do you imagine how come this grass grow? We don't put any seeds like we have potted plant at home. How does it automatically grow? Now these grass, once it grows, it keeps on falling onto the surface of the ground. So wherever it falls, the fallen part, the lower part gives rise to root and upper part gives rise to the stem, that is radicle and the plumule, and it goes on continuously, and within a short span of time the entire playground is covered with grass. As it moves very fast, that is why the name given as runners. It looks like running from one end of the ground to the other end. Okay, then breathing roots. Breathing, now you say how the breathing takes place in roots, right? Even roots, they breathe. That is why I said aerial roots are present, the stilt roots, and every root has got its peculiar function. So here in breathing roots, as a name itself, it helps in breathing, right? Why? Because of the condition where these particular plants may be present. For example, in breathing root, they may be present in more saline water, salty place or marshy place where the entire ground may be covered covered with water, right, or sluggish mud. So in that case, the oxygen reaching to the plants will be less. So instead of going downward, some roots they come above the soil. That is why they are called as nematophores or breathing roots. Okay, so here I added one image or the picture, and second a beautiful animation image. So here you can see the parts: lateral root, primary root, root hairs, root tip, root cap, as you just saw. And just for additional information, what are these different parts? Zone of maturation, where they keep on growing; zone of elongation, that they keep on stretching and become longer and longer and longer; and the meristematic zone, that is the root tip and the root cap part. Okay, then here I added a beautiful animation image how the roots grow. You can see on these sides I am highlighting it, the root hairs coming laterally and the root tip keeps on going downward, and the blue coloration, there is a root cap, protects the root. So this is the way how the root keeps on growing and goes deeper and deeper into the soil. And you can see a coloration: the green color is the xylem and the pink the phloem. As I mentioned, this is the conducting tissues which helps to supply food and water. Then pericycle, endodermis. So these are different parts present inside the root. Okay, for time being, as you are learning about root hair, root tip and root cap, whichever is there in your text. Clear? So others are the additional part or additional information for you. Now you can see all the images which I mentioned or which is there in the text. One, taproot, you can see the root which goes deep into the soil, the main root, that is primary, then followed by the secondary and the tertiary. So it divides and redivides as it grows continuously. Then fibrous root, you can see it's like hair like growth on the sides. It does not go much deeper, it is superficial. That's why some roots do go under the soil, some roots you can see above the soil as well. Okay, then you can see corn root or orchid root, which is adventitious, which is usually above the soil. That is the second type in the plants of monocots other than the fibrous root. Then you can see here stilt roots, which is again above the soil. Then aerial roots, which is present above the soil as well as but hanging in the air. Okay, here you can see again, take the examples of orchids where you can see beautiful flowers in it. Then strawberry, where you have runner. So other than grass, you can take the example of strawberry where the roots the stem which grow falls onto the ground, they continue as a root part which is on the lower part of the soil, and upper part it forms the stems. As I am highlighting, as the part of the plant falls, lower part continues as the root and upper part the stem. And here you can see the breathing root nematophores. So if you have a coastal region, marshy place nearby, you can see this type of roots which comes from under the ground to above the ground for breathing purpose. That is why the name given as breathing root. So they need oxygen which is not available underneath because of the salty area or salty water or marshy area. So these roots some come above the soil where they got small pores with which they breathe. Okay, now the additional information which is given in the text. So I added the image which is put up in the text, that is, do you know roots emerging from the trunk and branches of a banyan tree grows towards the soil? These roots are called prop roots. Now if you see here in the plants, some of the roots they grow from the branches towards the ground, which are nothing but prop roots, another type of root. In the beginning, the banyan tree has very few prop roots, but later on their number increases so much that it appears like a small forest. Because if you see this image which I put up, it starts to spread out so much and extends to a larger extent that that entire region may look like a small miniature forest. Okay, then this particular tree, there is one species in Kolkata which is a 250 years old banyan tree which is present in Indian Botanical Garden, covers a very large area. It is supported by thousands of prop roots which you can see in the surrounding. This one single tree and you can see the branches spread out, roots which is present, and as mentioned over, thousands of prop roots are present. Okay, one more thing to add over here. Now you will say, sir, how this 250 years, how will you come to know? Now we can't count the ages of the plants, right? It's very easy. Now there is a different method in case of plants. In animals we may come to know, we celebrate our birthdays every year, right? But how come about the plants? Now in plants, if you see the roots which are present or the stem, if you cut one part of the branch, we can see rings present in it. Now these rings may indicate one ring, maybe for example 10 years. If there are 10 rings present inside, it is 100 years old, or more than 10 rings, 15 rings, 20 rings, 200 years. That is one of the simpler way to identify the age of a plant. Okay, and here the board which is put up outside the banyan tree to know that it is a very much old tree which is in Guinness Book of World Records. And what is the scientific name? This always you have to keep learning as you come higher class. That is Ficus bengalensis. Ficus is a genus term, and bengalensis, you say what is this species? Very simple way. Now as you know, where it is, this tree is found in Kolkata, that is Bengal, right? So here, since it is found in the Bengal region, the species name is always given to the place where it is found. So it is given as bengalensis. Clear? If I give one more example for your knowledge, all of you know neem, right? That is in case of neem, it is scientific name is Azadirachta indica. Indica, Indian species, right? So that is how the genus and the species name is given. Again, little bit of additional information for you. Okay, now coming to the second part, that is stem. So first point, the stem grows above the soil from the plumule of the sprouting seed. As the sprout grows, the length of the stem gradually increases too. So as we saw in the earlier image, first the seed starts to sprout and the root part goes down. Initially it is called as a radicle, which further forms the root, whereas the upper part, which is a plumule, which starts to sprout or germinate, which forms the stem. So there are nodes of the stem which are seen in the image. The leaves comes out at the nodal region or in the nodes. The part of the stem between two nodes is called internode. Also the tip or the apical end of the stem is called a bud. So first we will take the image towards the right, which I am highlighting. You can see here the stem part starting from the lower end, internode. As I told, the two nodes, the ring like part, if you see in sugar cane or maize, there you can see the ring like part. Between the two rings is the internode. Here the abscission layer, petiole, this stalk part, a small stem part, the axillary bud over here, growing between the joint of this petiole and the stem, the growing point of young leaf and the terminal bud. Now come to the parts of stem: terminal or apical bud, nodes, internodes, axil, petiole. Then over here lateral or the axillary bud, leaves, flowers, and pedicel, where the flower is attached to the stem, named as pedicel. Okay. Now coming to the third part, leaf, another important part. Why? As we just saw in the very first animation image in the beginning, photosynthesis, right? Okay, so first point, leaves grow from the nodes on a stem. Leaves are generally thin, flat, and green in color. As you see, the broad spread out part of the leaf is called as the leaf blade or lamina, and its edge is called leaf margin. Now from this point, now first see the labeled image, then we come back to the fourth point. So you can see the tip part of the leaf, what is that? Apex. Then the side part, margin. Then we can see veins. If I give a small example here, in your hand you can see veins, right? Or you can see the fingerprints. So here these are nothing but it looks like our fingerprints in leaf, which is the vein part. Midrib, the central line. Then the basal part, which is together called as the blade, then the petiole, that is the stalk part where the leaf is attached, and the stipule, small outgrowth on the edges. Okay. Now we can come to the next point. Leaf margins may be entire, dentate, or lobed. Now if you see here, the images which is put up, the entire over here dentate, here double dentate, here lobed leaf, you can see the lobes present, and here serrated margin. So if you next time when you go to a garden area, just see the plants in your surrounding. You can see all the leaves are different of different plants, and see the shape of the leaf. Every plant has got a different shaped leaf present, maybe small, big, or as you can see over here, the structure of a leaf, serrate margin, lobed margin, or double dentate, dentate, etc. Okay, so I hope next time when you go to a garden, you observe the plant, leaves, flowers. Okay, then further, the tip of the leaf is called leaf apex. As you can see over here, it may be tapering, pointed, or rounded. Means as you can see, it may be pointed, or sometimes it may be rounded or tapering. Then further, leaves of some plants have a stalk called as petiole, which you can see here, the stalk part. Okay, now why this mentioned over here? Because sometimes some plants having leaves does not have this petiole. The leaf may be directly attached to the stem. Okay, so leaves of some plants do not have a petiole. The portion of the leaf attached to the stem is called leaf base, as you can see over here. Then small leaf-like structure may be present near the leaf base. These are called as stipules, as you can see on this side, small outgrowth. Okay, now further point, leaf of some plants have a single undivided leaf blade and a single midrib. Such leaves are called as simple leaf. As you have seen in the previous slide, a single midrib from the center, the undivided leaf blade. So it is a simple type of leaf. Okay, then in some plants the leaf blade of the leaves is divided into many small parts called leaflets. Then such leaves are called as compound leaves. So such plants where many leaflets are present, they are compound leaf. Simple leaf and compound leaf are the two main type of leaves. Okay, so again in plants, in leaves, there are two types, simple and compound. Like just now we read the root part where you got the tap root and the fibrous root. Okay, further, in different plants the arrangement of leaves on the stem is different. So even the arrangement of these leaf in different plants are also different. So it may be a alternate, it can be opposite, whorled, spiral, etc. According to the shape, the leaves are rounded, otherwise called as ovate or palmate, lanceolate or linear. Okay, now first come to the right side of the image, which is from this text. So phyllotaxy of the leaves. So A, we can see alternate, how the position is lying alternately. Then B part, which is opposite, decuscate. You can see it is not alternate but opposite. The arrangement is called as decuscate. Whorled leaf, you can see it is like a how the petals of the flower is arranged. That's what it is called as whorled leaf. Then fourth, again whorled leaf, but again the arrangement is slightly different. Okay, then I added one more image which is not there in your textbook, but for your understanding, venation. You can see how the leaves are arranged, right? So you can see there is palmate, which it is mentioned that the term in the text. Lanceolate, palmately lobed, ovate or rounded. So you can see the shape rounded. Linear, long leaf. Ovate, pinnately lobe, reniform, sagittate. Okay, then here we can see the arrangement. Again it is palmately, pinnately or bipinnately. See the leaf, small, here slightly bigger or slightly more bigger, or bigger, smaller, smallest, the other way around. Okay, then margin, entire, here crenate, here dentate, serrate and lobe. So now I don't have to explain this individually. From the shape of the leaf you can understand lobe, small lobes are present. Serrate, like saw-like edges. Dentate, you can see the dents present in between. Crenate, again the shapes like small pointed ends in each part. Entire, completely rounded. Then alternate you can say arrangement on the stem, which is whorled, that is like a floral arrangement. Clear? So I think this additional picture will help you to understand more about the leaf. Now, comparison between a people leaf and a maize leaf. Why we are having a comparison? Firstly, now you see the image, then we'll read. Okay. Now, if you see in this people leaf, how the leaf is there. We can have a pointed apex. You can see a midrib and the veins very clearly. It is keeping on spreading out, right? But if you see the maize leaf, the midrib and all other veins are straight, or we can see it is parallel, right? So you can see a big difference in the people leaf and a maize leaf, right? So we can take one by one. The people leaf is divided into equal parts by single midvein which lies along the midline of the leaf bed, as you can see over here. Secondary veins arise from the midvein, which again you can see further how it is dividing. Then they are branched and form a network of reticulum or reticulum. Now what does that mean? Again, as I told, as you see the tree with the branches and the sub branches, or even in your finger, as I told, fingerprints are there which keeps on extending, right? So it forms a network. On the other hand, in leaves of maize, all the veins are parallel, as you can see over here, running from the leaf base to the apex, means till the top. So it is same way throughout the leaf, that is parallelly going from the midrib to the tip part. Thus the people leaf blade has a reticulate venation and the maize leaf blade has a parallel venation. So by the meaning of reticulate, now you can understand by seeing the leaf having a midrib and then veins which arise and forming a network. Where if you see parallel venation, the parallel which you come across in mathematics also, so from the midrib the veins goes parallelly. Clear? Now coming to the fourth part, important part of the plant, that is flower. So here first point, flowers may have a long or a short stalk called as pedicel. Okay, so remember the terms, all the important terms I am highlighted here. Here it is pedicel. One end of the pedicel is attached to the stem. The other end of the pedicel is expanded and swollen. It is called the receptacle, which you can see in the image. Which is the part called receptacle. Petals and other parts of the flower are supported on the receptacle. Now you can see four important points in flower: calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium are the different parts of the flower. So first point, calyx. In the bud condition, the petals are covered by leaf-like parts called sepals, which are green in color. They form the calyx. Second, corolla. It is made up of colorful parts called petals. The shape, color and smell of the corolla of various flowers like the rose, chrysanthemum, hibiscus, mogra, kanhar, tiger, etc. Now coming back to the calyx and corolla. Okay, now here you come across a term called as sepal. Here it comes about petal. So then we are also calling it calyx and corolla. Why? Because the sepals are the individual units. So if you have seen a flower, right, all of you have seen different flowers. If you have taken a rose or a shoe flower, now there may be 5 petals in shoe flower, right? Or now the individual part is the petal, and together there may be 5 petals, or there may be more than 5 petals in certain flowers, right? So that petals individually, or individual unit is the petal, whereas together they are called as corolla. Similarly, calyx, the individual unit is sepal. Now if you take the same example of shoe flower, if you observe carefully, there are 5 petals on the top and 5 sepals beneath, which is green in color. Only thing is they are joined, that is fused. So they are called as sepals, and together they are called as calyx. And all this example which I mentioned here, you can see the image in the next slide. Third part is androecium. What is this androecium? It is a male reproductive part of the flower. It consists of stamen. Each stamen is made up of anther and filament. So male reproductive part is called as what? Androecium. And this androecium has got stamen. Now again you see androecium and stamen. So a stamen is an individual unit. So some flowers may have 2 stamen, 3 stamen, which we'll learn in the further class. So for time being, what is there in the androecium? The stamen. The stamen has got two main parts. One is the anther, where inside which the pollen grain is present, and the filament where the anther is attached with. Clear? Then second, or you can see the fourth part, gynoecium. What is gynoecium? It is a female reproductive part of the flower. It is made up of carpel. A carpel consists of stigma, style, ovary. Now again coming back to androecium. Androecium, it has got stamen. It is a male reproductive part. Gynoecium, the female reproductive part, it has got carpel. Okay, again there may be flowers with more than one carpel, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here in individually the carpel, and these carpel has got stigma, style, ovary. Now which are these parts? We'll see in the image in the further slide. Okay. Now next point, after maturity, anthers burst and pollen grains which are released fall on the stigma. Due to pollination, ovules or egg cells in the ovary gets fertilized. Now how this gets pollinated? With the help of wind or even water, birds, insects like honeybees, right? So they help in the pollination, and because of pollination they get fertilized. Now fertilized ovules from the seeds and the ovary develops into a fruit. So here in this part, remember 4 terms in flowers: calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. Now usually corolla is the colored part, the petals. Below the petals, the calyx, which is mostly green in color. And then androecium and gynoecium. Androecium the male reproductive part, gynoecium the female reproductive part. Androecium has got stamen and gynoecium the carpel. The stamen has got what? Anther and filament, whereas the carpel has got stigma, style, ovary. Clear? Now once the pollination takes place, fertilization occurs. So the flowers further after the pollination, they form the seeds, and the ovary forms the fruit. That is ovule forming seed and ovary forming the fruit. Okay. Now here you can see the image so very clearly, which is there in the textbook also, which is given by the Maharashtra board. Okay, so you can see here stigma, the topmost part, then anther on the sides, which is yellow in color, then pedicel, the stalk part, the petals. Okay, here you can see the full image, that is stigma followed by style, and the lower part the ovary, the corolla, which is the petals, and the filament, which is attached with the anther, that is what? The stamen. Calyx, you can see here the green colored part, and the pedicel. Here I added one more image to have a better idea, the complete flower image. So stamen, what is that? Anther and filament. Stigma, style, ovary, which is the pistil. Now there is one more name for this carpel. What is that? Pistil. That's why I added this image. So now you are learning as carpel, but in some images the term pistil will be given, which is nothing but the carpel. Then the petals. Here you can see inside the ovary the ovule is present. Now as I mentioned, ovule forms the seed and the ovary forms the fruit once it gets fertilized. Then receptacle. Now this is the part, the receptacle, and the peduncle, the stalk part. Okay. Then all the images which you just read in the paragraph. Rose, which most of you might have seen. Then you can see how beautiful the chrysanthemum looks. Hibiscus, also most of you might have seen. Few more: tiger, kanhar, and mogra. Okay. Now coming to the next part, or the later part of, or fifth part, that is fruit. So each type of fruit has its own characteristics. So again, all the fruits are different, which you might have tasted, which you might have seen, right? So these are the variations in the shape, color, and taste. So all the fruits has got a different taste, different color, and a different shape. Have you seen any fruit similar? No. Or A to Z, all the fruits are different, right? So the mango contains only one seed, whereas jackfruit consists of many small fruitlets, so each with its own seed. That means many seeds are present. Various fruits like bear, that is Hibiscus, mango, chiku, apple, etc. has different skin or shell, fleshy part and seed. So if you see these four examples only, mango, all of you might have eaten, one of the favorite fruit, apple or chiku, all has got different color, different skin, fleshy part, right? So in case of fruits like cashew, another unusual fruit, why? Its seed is outside the fruit, right? Then you can see the image of fruits and seed, few are added over here with all different colors, shape and size. Then seeds which get divided into two equal parts are called cotyledons. Seed which do not divide into two equal parts are called monocotyledonous seeds. So you can see a monocot example, or if I give a very simple example, corn, right? And then dicot, the beans, rajma, which you might have seen, right, with the two cotyledons. Clear? Now few images of the examples given in the text. Bear, which is otherwise called as what? Ziziphus. Then the mango, that is, if you see here again I added the scientific name Mangifera indica. Why? The mango is an Indian fruit, so that's a species given as indica. Then apple, cashew, as I know cashew, the seeds are outside. Then chiku. So you can see all the five fruits mentioned in the textbook, all are different colors, different shape, different to taste as well. Clear? So that ends with our chapter number 2, that is plant structure and function. Hopefully this will help you to learn, understand and revise with the help of images and the animation videos. Clear? So thank you all of you. As I put some animation image over here, always keep studying, keep doing hard work. Okay? Taking help of your parents, brother, sister. Always keep on learning.